So the Donald Trump clown show continues, and we got some earnings reports actually from Amazon, Apple, and McDonald's, which are really important to understanding what's going on right now. And I want to go over this, and let's just jump right in. So this is first from Financial Times, coming from McDonald's. This was the headline they ran today. McDonald's U.S. sales drop by most since height of pandemic. Wow. Economic pressures and consumer uncertainty over tariffs reduce traffic at burger chain restaurants. You know it's bad that when even McDonald's is saying these tariffs are affecting us. And you have to go over this stuff because I know that there's people out there in MAGA land and they deny all of these things. They say, oh, but Trump told me everything's awesome and fantastic.
In the United States of America, so all of the, and don't even, egg prices, of course, which was all you guys talked about for a few days, I think are down like 80%. The reality is that we can either surrender economically to China, or we can reclaim and reshore our manufacturing base and our industrial needs.
But that's not what McDonald's is saying. And these type of companies are not really about left or right. You know what they're about? They're about making money. According to McDonald's, so this was the worst since the pandemic 5 years ago. They say same-store sales in its home market fell 3.6% year on year in the quarter that ended in March, driven mainly by lower customer numbers, and that's the world's biggest burger chain. Yeah, and if McDonald's is saying that, you know, what's it going to say about the rest of the economy? Now, to be fair, I'm not a big McDonald's guy myself. I prefer Chipotle when it comes to this kind of food. Some people may prefer Taco Bell, some prefer Wendy's or Burger King, etc. But you have to acknowledge that McDonald's is the big behemoth, right? So I think there's a combination of economic factors and then the real competition from other choices these days. This is from the McDonald's CEO. He says here, consumers today are grappling with uncertainty. Wow. Geopolitical tensions added to the uncertainty and the dampening consumer sentiment more than we expected. And he continues, we're not immune to the volatility in the industry or the pressures that our consumers are facing. When McDonald's is saying they're not immune to the tariffs and the economic downturn, it is a bad sign. I'm just being honest with you. It's a bad sign. Usually McDonald's, again, is a stalwart. We all go get burgers regardless of things are good or if things are bad. And also McDonald's has been doing a lot of stuff with trying to keep, you know, prices down with their, you know, like dollar menu and special Happy Meal things. I've been seeing that the last year or so because they've been experiencing a trouble. But I didn't know necessarily, you know, I can't predict the exact numbers, but 3.6%, you know, fall in same-store sales is actually a big problem.
By defeating inflation, by lowering gas prices, by ending the onslaught and reversing the onslaught of federal regulation, by reopening coal, shale, oil, natural gas, and fighting now for the largest tax cut and reform, and the largest deregulation reform, and the largest energy reform in American history. These are just some of the things that have ushered in the new golden age, along with his fight to restore the peace that we had for 4 years.
Now we're going to hear from Amazon. This is also reported today. Headline from Financial Times. Amazon warns on trade war hit as profit outlook misses forecasts, right? So how this works is that every earnings season, Wall Street is sort of expecting, you know, kind of performance from various companies. I guess Amazon didn't reach what Wall Street wanted. And then it says here, e-commerce giant says tariff and trade policies pose a risk to its earnings. So going in the forward, operating income, like it could be anywhere between 13 to 17 billion. That's kind of a wide range. Geez. And then the year before it was 14 billion and Wall Street wanted 17. So again, they're predicting kind of a range between 13 and 17. So it's not like people are going to completely stop shopping at Amazon, just that things are uncertain. And, you know, this is what they say. They say tariff and trade policies, a list of risk factors. They also say here, there's going to be plenty of sellers that will decide to pass the cost, those higher costs to consumers. Of course there is.
So it was reported this morning that Amazon will soon display a little number next to the price of each product that shows how much the Trump tariffs are adding to the cost of each product. So isn't that a perfect crystal clear demonstration that it's the American consumer and not China who is going to have to pay for these policies?
I will take this since I just got off the phone with the president about Amazon's announcement. This is a hostile and political act by Amazon. Why didn't Amazon do this when the Biden administration hiked inflation to the highest level in 40 years?
So, you know, that was a big issue with Amazon was, are they going to show the exact price of the import fee and tariffs on the US Amazon. Now, I can tell you, here in Korea, when we order something on Amazon, it literally tells you. It tells you what the import fee is, and there are many countries out there that also have Amazon, and they said the same thing. It tells you. So I don't know why the US policy is different on that, and why Amazon would get why Trump would get mad at Amazon for just showing literally what you have to pay extra, but it is what it is. Now let's see what Apple has to say. This is from Apple, Financial Times. Apple says Trump tariffs will boost costs. Oh, costs, that's not good. By $900 million in June quarter. That's coming from Tim Cook, and it's very difficult to make predictions for the later half of 2025. You know, and when Apple say it's difficult to predict the future, this is bad. Geez, it's really bad. Okay, this is what Tim Cook had to say over at Apple. Assuming the current global tariff rates do not change for the balance of the quarter and no new tariffs are added, we estimate the impact to add $900 million to our costs, so nearly $1 billion here. It is very difficult to predict June how Apple's going to deal with this. The other issue as well, there was another headline that was saying like iPhones and things going forward may be coming from both Vietnam and India. Now that's damaging to the Trump people because they keep telling you, guys, these tariffs are awesome. We're all going to be rich, and then Apple and all these companies are going to come and bring back manufacturing to the USA, whereas Apple's like literally saying we're probably going to be bringing stuff from India and Vietnam. So I don't know what the heck Trump and them are talking about. I just tell you what the companies are saying. And then you got stuff like this, which is related. This is coming from the Washington Post. Judge rules Trump to exceeded authority and cannot deport migrants under Wartime Act. The ruling is a blow to Trump's deportation efforts, which permanently bars removals under the Alien Enemies Act in South Texas. So basically, Trump's trying to do all these things that are legal. He's using like the Wartime Act, saying like, hey guys, it's an emergency and I can do whatever I want. I have emergency powers, and let's deport everybody, no due process, whatever. Let's send people to El Salvador whenever we feel like it. And it is actually a real problem. And I think what's going on is I wanted to put this together. You have an economic slowdown essentially. Companies are reporting that. And then, because this is before the Trump stuff, actually, we were having an economic slowdown. And then you got the Trump pain added on top of that. It could get really catastrophic. I'm just be honest with you guys. And so for me, when I watch this stuff, I'm just waiting for companies and for more and more Americans to push back. We had a May Day protest. I did see that. There were multiple groups out saying, we got to create a system that's fair for everyone, not just for billionaires. I say that all the time. I'm just looking out for just regular people and just want to tell you the truth on this kind of stuff. I just saw the press briefing from Stephen Miller and Carolyn Levitt. I showed you a bit in the last video, but frankly, guys, it's hard to show any of this stuff because they just like make up stuff all the time.
Receive preference in America's markets. The U.S. auto industry used to control the entire world. I believe the number during the heyday was that 70% of all cars in the world were made in Michigan. And now, of course, we've become a tiny fraction of the global market. And the reason for that is because the United States opened its markets to every single foreign cheater and every single foreign nation that subsidized its goods on the face of the earth, and their markets have been closed to ours. Japan closed their market to our cars. The entire EU closed their market to our cars. South Korea closed their market to our cars. All of the countries I just mentioned have tens of billions of dollars of annual trade deficits in automobiles with the United States. These are supposedly pure nations, nations that have at least a somewhat equivalent per capita GDP. So it is impossible under the terms of fair trade, if you have two nations with similar per capita GDP, to have such uneven trade flows in automobiles. What the president has done with his car tariff, we have the most desirable market in the world, is if you want to sell cars tariff-free, tax-free to our market, your plant has to operate in the United States. The only alternative to that is to have no U.S. automobile industry whatsoever.
One of the things that they keep going on and harping on, he did, this is Stephen Miller guy. If you know who he is, he's kind of like a Nazi dude. He was going on and on how, we can't sell American cars to other markets and other countries, and, they hate our stuff. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? You can Google it. I looked it up. Google how many countries Ford sells into. I think it was like over 100. And like how many countries does Tesla sell, Tesla cars into? I think it was like 50 or something like that. And so this idea that we're not selling American products around the world is just ludicrous. And like he literally mentioned car industries are all locked down. And it's like what are you talking about? And part of the problem is how can I explain it? The Trump people, they have this sort of arrogance You could say MAGAs like that, and they just say, "Wow, you know, we're American, and if we just put American flag on something, then everyone will want to buy it." And I want to tell you the truth about this stuff. You make a good product, you come in at a good price, a good quality product, and people will buy it, right? So I'm telling you the truth. People buy iPhones all around the world. They do, right? They're like available everywhere, and so this idea that like, oh, we can't sell any American products, right? And they're trying to make the case on cars. Here's the thing. What if it turns out that in certain markets, be it Japan or be it in Europe, they don't want those big F-150s. They don't want like these big SUVs. What if they live in a different environment where they want small compact cars that are efficient and reliable? Is that anything crazy to say? But unfortunately, and this is sort of like I like to show you guys different spots of the world. Like for example, we're in Busan here. The reason why I walked up in the intro is because someone thought that this was a fake background and I'm not really here, but I feel like I'm here. I'm here. I'll show you again if you guys don't believe me. So you can see how you move the camera, right? See, this is Busan if you don't believe me. But I understand that. If you've never been out of the country, just like all these places don't seem real to you, but I'm telling you, it is real. And actually here, even here in Korea, we can buy American cars, but they're just not that popular. They're not that good. Let's be perfectly frank. I think I have a friend who has a Chevy. I was like, why'd you buy that? You can get other stuff here. But, you know, each to their own. I'll say what's interesting, though, is actually we have French cars here, the Peugeots. Some people buy these things. But this is, every market's going to be different, right? And obviously we buy Korean cars here as well. Japanese cars don't do that well here. And we buy a lot of German cars. But the point I'm trying to get back to is that, again, if you want to have successful companies, if you want to be a successful, you know, country, et cetera, you develop a culture to where you don't think that everyone owes you and you don't think that everyone must buy it because you put an American flag on it. People will buy your products if they're good products. People will buy your products if they're trustworthy, right? If you back them, and people will do business with you if you're honest. And sort of what these Trump people are trying to pull and try to scam everyone on is basically lying every single day, being dishonest and tarnishing the American brand. And to be fairly frank, I find it really shameful. And I know I don't get like angry. I know a lot of other channels call names all the time, and I don't find that appropriate. I just try to tell you the truth on these things. And it is frustrating to cover this stuff, but there is a need for truth out there, and I hope going into the future there'll be more Americans that stand up and call out the lies by Trump and their administration. So that's what's going on. That's what's going on in the economy. That's going on for different companies. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.